So if you see any group of people or movements or individuals clamoring for a return to regional government, this has been the demand of the Yoruba nation since 1967. It was Awolowo, as the leader of thought in 1967, who spoke eloquently on behalf of the Yoruba nation to demand for 4 major things, among others. The paramount demand of the Yoruba as far back as 1967 was a return to the parliamentary system of government based on regional government. Since 1967, the Yoruba nation, we've been demanding for this. It was during the June 12 struggle between 1993 and 1998 that the concept of restructuring was introduced into our body politics across Yoruba land and by extension Nigeria. But the appropriate word that we have to have used then, and before saying that, in addition to what I've said about the population of the current Yoruba who never experienced slavery or colonialism because we were not born in 1960, the majority of us never experienced regional government too because we were not born in 1966. And many of us never voted in 1993 election because we were not 18. I did not vote in 1993 because I wasn't 18 years old. So you see, our generation that is speaking up today, we've never physically participated in a number of things that has gone wrong in the past. But our generation has been born to change the course of history. That is the only reason why we were born. And our generation will eventually take Yoruba land out of Nigeria. But since 1993, that the election of the first elected Yoruba citizen, a full-blooded Yoruba citizen, Abiola, he was the first Yoruba to be so elected president of Nigeria. The Igbo and the Hausa Fulani did not only annul that election, they imprisoned him, they killed his wife, and they eventually assassinated this man. But we've been using the word restructuring to define what we desire as a people. But we at YYF as a movement realize that that is completely wrong. Restructuring is not the appropriate word for us to use. What we want, the appropriate word of our desire is devolution. Devolution simply means that the central government, in a democratic system, they don't even call it the federal government. It ought to be the central government. Devolve political power to the regions. That is what we have always been clamoring for. So restructuring is not appropriate. What is appropriate is devolution. So what we want as Yoruba people since 1967 is for the central government that was appropriated by the Igbo in 1966 and centralize all political power at the center. What we want as Yoruba people is for the central government, which we erroneously call the federal government, to now devolve this power back to the regions. That is what devolution is. In the United Kingdom and in the United States of America, it is devolution of power. When the United States of American citizens were writing their constitution, the federal government of the United States devolved political power to the state. Each of the states in America, they are like a nation. Each state controls its own police. Each state controls its own military. Each state controls its own mineral and natural resources. Each state controls its own courts, up to the Supreme Court. Each state is responsible for its own education, Each state is responsible for a number of things. These powers have been devolved from the federal government of the United States to the state governments of the United States. It is the same thing in the United Kingdom. They call it devolution. The power has been devolved from the central government in London to the regional government across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Regionalism in Yoruba now currently and since 1967, today it has come back to prominence because the political, the economy, the cultural, and the social space of the Yoruba nation in contemporary Nigeria comes under a new meaning. There's a lot of growing Yoruba nationalism of both the liberals and the conservative demanding for a return to regional government, demanding for Oduduwa Republic. So folks, I would like to encourage you, as we say, in YYF, we introduce the concept of self-preservation, we introduce the concept of Think Yoruba First, we distinguish between the two political ideologies in Yoruba land, the PDP Yoruba, who are liberals, completely irresponsible set of political leaders, and the APC Yoruba, who are conservative. We introduce a lot of political ideas and ideals to shape your mind so that we can be proud as Yoruba people and control our respective space. We will be talking about devolution. We are introducing this concept to you so that you appreciate what is appropriate for us to say at this point in time. As the president of the Young Yoruba for Freedom, I have written something I could call a white paper for the incoming government of Asiwaju Tinubu. I wrote this report before I was arrested last year, but it took me so many months to be able to crack my brain back to this same report because everything has been taken away from my home and the police have not returned back my documents, which are my intellectual properties. But I've been working, even though under extreme tension and pressure, to reproduce this, what I call white paper. And it is on devolution. The paper will be released via Amazon so that people can purchase this document. We at YYF, we've always been giving things out for free of charge. But unfortunately, I have a court case, a trial that is pending for next year, hopefully. So we need to fund our legal fee. So rather than give this out for people for free of charge, unfortunately, we have to sell it. That is the decision we have come to. We gave you the Constitution of Western Nigeria for free, even though we spent so much money to procure it. There's no university in Yoruba land that has a copy until we publish one. This is the copy of the Constitution of Western Nigeria. Very interesting. I've printed it and then I'm going to speak on that. So we apologize in advance for the fact that you will have to purchase this new document that we will be releasing in due course. We're still working on it because the police refused to give me the copy. They were like, they don't want it to go to the public, but I have to publish it in public because it is my intellectual property, it is my right. I did the research in conjunction with other members of the YYF, and then we've done this for a long time. We just do not push it out as a dare because it was seized by the police. They consider it too important for the public to see. But we are going to release it in due course through the Amazon, so that you should look out for it when it is eventually published. I can't give a definite time. So I want to tell you that we should stop using restructuring to say that is what we are demanding for. We are actually demanding for devolution. Devolution is simply about the transfer of power by a central government, which we erroneously call the federal government, to the regional administration. Like I said to you guys, devolution is not new. It was how we started Nigeria. If you look at all the constitution we've had in Nigeria, devolution of power to the region has always been the basis. The Igbo destroyed this beautiful political system. The Fulani took advantage of the destruction of the Igbo and perpetrated themselves in power. Now, from 2023, the Yoruba will bring back this devolution power. So in the white paper that we have written, we divided the country, Nigeria, into two groups, so to say. The legislature and the government. This is something that the Yoruba liberals, Heritage TV, Oduduwa TV Radio, David Hamilton, Citizen AY, Olayomi Koiki, Mayegun, Dari, and other Yoruba liberals shouting about Oduduwa, but they have no clue about what we say. They are not that smart or intelligent. They are liberal. They are just taking advantage of you guys. They don't know anything about government. They have no clue about how to make a nation great. So they're just fooling you. So we have divided the Nigerian state into two, the legislature and the government. The National Assembly is number one, which comes under the legislature. The role of the government in tandem with the National Assembly of Nigeria is the federal government of Nigeria, which will be called the central government of Nigeria. So the National Assembly and the central government of Nigeria are one. So the National Assembly is the legislature, the government is the central government of Nigeria. But for convenience's sake, let us continue to adopt the name federal government. Number two is the Yoruba Parliament. And I want you to take note of the word parliament, and I will use assembly for others. We have divided Nigeria into 10 regions. Like I always say to you, Anthony Enauro and Professor Wole Soyinka under Pronaco did a beautiful research and divided Nigeria into 15 regions. But while because we've looking at the geographical spread of the ethnic groups in Nigeria, a lot of them are minority. There are not so many, like Urobo is just 20 million, 2 million people rather. Edo is just 5 million people. They are very, very minutest. They are minority. And then we can't just give each and every one of them their own region. So we have divided Nigeria into 10 regions, which is going to be part of our white paper that we will help President Tinubu to use in this devolution of power to the regions. So the second legislature is the Yoruba Parliament. And the government that will work with that parliament is the Yoruba Regional Government. The third legislature is the Hausa Parliament. And the government that will work with that parliament is the Hausa government. The fourth legislature is the Igbo Parliament. And the government that will work with that is the Igbo Regional Government. Now, I said you should take note of the word parliament. I have used the word parliament for Yoruba, for Hausa, and for Igbo because these two ethnic nations made up more than 72% of the total population of Nigeria. They can stand as an independent nation on their own. The others, We are not going to use parliament for them. This is part of government. A number of liberals don't understand. They might be saying, why do you say Yoruba parliament? Why do you use assembly for others? It is because of their population. Population is very important in the scheme of things in politics. If you look at California, state in America, it has more electors than many states. It has about 55 electoral college vote, 55. But there are some states in America that has only 2 electoral college votes. Why is that? It is the population. The Yoruba, the Hausa, and the Igbo combined together, they are more than 70% of the total population of Nigeria. They will have parliament. Their parliament will be so powerful enough to serve as an independent nation. But the others will go by the name assembly. So number 5 legislature will be the National Assembly of Kanuri. It will work with the Kanuri regional government. Number 6 legislature is the National Assembly of Ijaw. It will work with the Ijaw regional government, and I know a lot of my friends who are Ijaw, they will be saying, why do you use National Assembly for us? You are 14 million people. Yoruba is 60 million. Hausa Fulani, they are 49 million. And Igbo, they are about 40 million. So Ijaw, you are 14 million. We have the accurate record of the population of Nigeria, not the fake one being supplied by the National Population Census. We got our finding from an institution in Germany. I have refused to disclose this institution in Germany because when we disclose the CIA World Fact Book, the federal government of Nigeria, through the National Population Commission, went to the CIA World Fact Book and changed the population there. Ridiculous people, stupid people. So now we have the fact. We will give this fact to the appropriate authority when time demands. So number 6 legislature is the Edo Urobo National Assembly. This National Assembly will work with the Edo Urobo regional government. And then some people might say that, oh, these people they're serious. We are working. We believe in what we do. We have passion for what we do. We want to change the course of history, and we're determined. We want to rule Yoruba land and make it great. And we prepare for all of this. How many Yoruba liberals sitting on social media has this idea that we're talking about? And I'm still going to talk about devolved power and reserved power. Do you want to say to me that this man who calls himself Frank Bello, does he have this idea of what we're talking about? He doesn't have a clue. Do you want to say to me that Mayegun Diary, who speaks rubbish almost all the time, he doesn't have a clue about what we're talking about? We conservative are extremely precocious minds. We're so brilliant. We know what to do at the appropriate time. We know how to make a country great. We know what is necessary. So all of these liberals sitting around abusing Tinubu, they lack ordinary common sense. They have got no clue. You see a lot of things now. But I don't want you to forget something. We are no longer using restructuring. We are using devolution. And then you will see why. Number 8 legislature will be the Efik Ibibio Assembly. The Efik Ibibio Assembly will work with the Efik Ibibio regional government. Number 9 legislature is the National Assembly for Western Middle Belt. The National Assembly for Western Middle Belt will work with Western Middle Belt regional government. Western Middle Belt will be the Bariba, the Busawa, and the Nupe people. Number 10 legislature will be the National Assembly for Central Middle Belt. The Middle Belt we have today, which is 1, shall be divided into 3 regions. So the Central Middle Belt, where you have Igala, Ibira, Idoma, Birom, and the rest. So the National Assembly for Central Middle Belt will work with the Central Middle Belt regional government. And finally, number 11 legislature is the National Assembly for Eastern Middle Belt. They will work with the Eastern Middle Belt regional government. So that is what we are proposing to Asiwaju Tinubu. And many of you will discount what we're saying. Believe me, we have the state of mind. We want Nigeria to be divided into 10 federating units: Yoruba region, Hausa region, Igbo region, Kanuri region, Ijaw region, Edo-Urobo region, Efik-Ibibio region, Western Middle Belt, Central Middle Belt, and Eastern Middle Belt. These are the 10 regions that we will be proposing to Mr. Tinubu to create. And each of these regions will have their own parliament. But the first three, Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo, will have a parliament. A parliament is for country. They are independent nation on their own, and they have to be recognized. The others will have assembly because they are minority. And a lot of people might not understand it. You allow constitutional lawyer to explain to you subsequently if in future President Tinubu actually establish this regional government. Folks, you will see from the white paper which we have written. White paper is actually government document, but we have envisioned the presidency of Asiwaju Tinubu. So we want to work as if we are government in waiting, and that is how we're working. We're actually government in waiting, because in 2023 Yoruba will take that government, because the Caucasian are the majority in America. They rule over African America. Yoruba will rule over Igbo and Hausa Fulani because we're majority, and we are also the economic backbone of Nigeria. The English, they rule over the Scottish and others because they are the majority and the economic backbone of the United Kingdom. So 2023, we will rule. So we are actually government in waiting. And as government in waiting, we must envision the kind of Nigeria we want for everyone. But look, there is a professor in anything that we propose, in whatever the government of the APC will do from 2023, which is under Tinubu. But one thing that is certain, if the Igbo and Hausa Fulani continue to disregard the need for devolution of power to the region, then we'll break up Nigeria peacefully. They cannot hold people to ransom. So from the white paper that we're going to produce to help the government or administration of Mr. Tinubu, you will see what is devolution there. We will explain why do we have devolution. We are going to explain devolution across Nigeria, talking about each of the regions to be established as federating unit that we have proposed from these 11 regions and legislature as well as government that I've mentioned earlier. We will then talk about how devolution works. And there we will focus our attention on devolved and reserved powers. I will then, just for this political speech, I'm going to talk on devolved and reserved power. Guys, what this means is very simple. Devolved power is what the responsibility of the regional government will be. Reserved power is the power of the federal government, which is actually central government. Currently, that presidency of Nigeria is the most powerful. And I used to use this word that my mother doesn't like. I keep saying that the president of Nigeria, under the unitary system that we're practicing, is more powerful than Jesus Christ. My mom said, don't use Jesus Christ as an example. I said to my mom, it's actually the truth. Buhari can kill anybody now and nothing will happen to that guy. President Trump cannot try that. Prime Minister Boris Johnson cannot try that. Buhari can decide to sell a Papa Wolf to China today. Nobody can stop him. And this is something that the Yoruba built in 1913 before Nigeria was created in 1914. This is something that Awolowo spent 50 million pounds building reconstruction over that port. Today, it is Hausa Fulani that are predominantly working there. And all the revenue made from that goes to Abuja. Because we're not unitary system. So when I said to my mom that the president of Nigeria is more powerful than Jesus Christ, My mom said, no, don't say that. That is actually the truth. Buhari can pick up a man from nowhere, and made him a multi-billionaire tomorrow. He would never be queried because we have a horrible political system. He won't be able to do that if Nigeria is a proper federation. Buhari will not be able to do that if Nigeria is practicing parliamentary system of government that is based on regional government. Buhari will pick me up today if I come to Nigeria and kill me if he so desire. Nothing will happen. The system is horrible. And if you don't stop that, it is only Yoruba people and the Niger Delta that are paying for this unitary system. The Igbo and the Hausa Fulani are the greatest beneficiary of this fraud of a unitary system. They are the only people that are enjoying Nigeria as presently constituted under unitary system. So let us look at devolved power, folks. You get this thing now. We say we want power to be devolved from the central government to the regional government. What are these power that we are calling for? This is what all of these people that are shouting on Facebook, all these stupid liberals that are abusing Tinubu, they have no clue. They don't even know what is devolved power. They don't even have an idea what is reserved power. It is the same thing in America. It is the same thing in the United Kingdom. So when we say devolved power, what are the powers that will be taken away from the federal government that will be given to the regional government? Number one is health and social services. So we are not going to have the same health care across Nigeria. Currently, it is the federal government that is in control of health and social services. We'll take that power from the federal government and give it to the region. So Igbo will run their own health care. Hausa will run their own health care independent of the federal government. Yoruba will run their own health care independent of the federal government. And if that happens, you know Yoruba will have the best health care. If an Igbo is speaking, they should also say that it is Igbo who will have the best health care in Nigeria. So we need to devolve that power. Federal government can no longer control health care and social services. It has to be given to the regional government. So Yoruba will fund their own hospitals, their own health care. Igbo will look for money for their own health care. Hausa Fulani will fund their own health care themselves. So federal government will no longer control that. That is devolve power to the region. Number two is education, training, and skill. We will no longer have the same educational curriculum. In Yoruba, and I can tell you for a fact, nobody's going to be writing horrible jams. I wrote jam almost twice, more than twice, before I could go to university. Fulani don't write jams. They say it is quota system. They use jam to destroy our future. So we have to write jam, fail, write again, fail. So if we devolve education, training, and skill to the regions, we take education away from the federal government and give it to the region, the Yoruba will control our education. Our children will not need jam before they can go to university. We might not even be writing WAEC any longer. We might have a change of system. Maybe we might tend to write the kind of exam they write in America for their high school graduation. I know WAEC is, I think, West African Examination Council. Which is the one they do they do in South Africa? Which exam do they write for their secondary school graduate in East Africa? We need to know. We have to pick the best. So we are no longer going to have the same educational system. That is when we devolve education, training, and skill to the regions. So the Igbo might choose to say, okay, all of their graduate, all of their secondary school students or primary school, you don't need to write a common entrance for your primary school. After your primary school, you just move down to secondary school. After your secondary school, you just move straight. So you understand? So we will have to devolve education, training, and skill to the region. This comes under devolution of power. These are power Because I said education, training, and skill. These are political power. It's essential that you control these things, not the federal government. I'm still going to talk about reserve power, just hold on. Number 3, power that will be devolved is local government. The creation of local government will no longer be the responsibility of the central government. And I say for convenience's sake, we call it federal government. So that power to create local government will now be under the regional government, which has been devolved. We're talking about devolution, not restructuring. Restructuring is just you breaking up everything and starting all over again. We have already had devolution of power since Nigeria was created. Go and look at the constitution. It's nothing new. Igbo just destroyed it, and Hausa Fulani took advantage of it. And for more than 50 years, they have held on to this unitary system with the support of the irresponsible, self-serving career politicians in England, who are the people giving Fulani weapon to suppress and subjugate the Yoruba people. And I'm glad that the APC Yoruba, they are talking to America. Because if we don't have the support of the United States of America, believe you me, you cannot even get the presidency in 2023. Yoruba, you won't get it. Because you can't fight for your freedom and liberty without allies. So it is good that the APC Yoruba, they've listened to YYF, they are talking to America, US government. They are bringing in American businesses. We don't need Lebanese. They are a Muslim country. They will be supporting Hausa Fulani. We need Israeli companies to come into Yoruba land. We need America to come into Yoruba land and do business and help us to get our freedom. It is not free, you know, there's nothing in life that is free. That I could talk today and then I didn't crack, even though I have to go through a lot. It is because there are people who are supporting me, who are our donors, and I'm very grateful to them. So you see, you need allies. If you don't have allies, you will never be successful. So local government power will be devolved to the region. So the federal government will no longer create local government. This is what we want, Yoruba people, since 1967. Number 4, power that will be devolved is housing. Federal government will no longer be responsible for providing housing for people. When you have Federal Mortgage Bank, they take all money from Yoruba and put it in their Federal Mortgage Bank and use this money to build houses for Hausa Fulani people. No, that power will be taken away from the federal government and given to the region. So the Igbo will have to look for money to provide housing for their own citizens. The Yoruba will look for money to build houses for their own people. Hausa Fulani too will have the power to build houses for their people. Housing will no longer come under the power of the federal government. It will be regional government that will have this power. Justice and police is number 5. Look at these things that I'm talking about. Do you think somebody will just sit down and Jesus Christ is putting it in my head? No. We have to research how it is done in the United States of America, in the UK, in Germany, in China, and elsewhere. This is what we have to do. There is this former special advisor on media, Yaradua, something Olani. The guy was writing shit in his report. He said that if you give Denmark, if you give them South, they will turn it into a wonderful place. If you give Dubai, Middle Belt, they will turn it into a great nation. If you give China if you give Igbo land to the Chinese, they will make it great. He said, why? He said it is leadership problem Nigeria is having. He's idiot. He spoke about Denmark. Denmark is a monocultural country. South is not a monocultural country. He spoke about Dubai. Dubai is a region inside UAE. He said if you give Dubai Middle Belt, it will become a great place. Middle Belt is full of different ethnic groups. It's not a monocultural region. It's a multicultural region. He said if you give the Chinese Igbo land, they would make it great. The Chinese are monocultural. The Han ethnic group is more than 92% of the population of the entire China. Nigeria is a multi-ethnic nation, multicultural nation. You don't use unitary system. It will never work. Igbo don't have electricity. It is the same thing that is happening in Yoruba land. We don't have electricity too. And Hausa Fulani too, they don't have electricity because you use unitary system. Boko Haram is killing people in Kanuri land. We are getting scared in Yoruba land because it is a unitary system. Because you have one police, one military. That's why you are scared. That's why people are moving from Kanuri land into Yoruba land, because you run unitary system. If you run a regional government, Yoruba, you have control over your own police, over your own military. Kanuri people will not get into Yoruba land without permits. You see Igbo, they don't go to school, they lack human capital, they go into crime, zoo. They move into Yoruba land and kill Yoruba graduates. Because we run unitary system. So Shegun Adeyinka, that is his name, was the former senior special advisor of media for Yaradua. He writes a lot of shit things anyway. I think he's the one that owns Cable. Cable does not do fake news, but it is pro-Fulani. I do read Cable newspaper, Cable online newspaper. But Shegun Adeyinka was writing nonsense, horrible things. Nigeria is a multicultural country. It's not a monocultural country. It is one of the reasons that it is not a great place to live. How can people be facing insecurity in Kanuri land and we are facing the impact in Yoruba land? Because it is unitary system. We have the same police. We have the same military. Devolve the power. That's number 6 or 5 that I'm talking about. Justice and policing. Look, justice and policing, folks, you will see the beauty in this constitution of Western Nigeria. Beautiful, which I'm going to speak about. We used to control all our courts except Supreme Court. Customary court in Yoruba land is controlled by Yoruba judges. It's only Yoruba judges as you see there. Magistrate court in Yoruba land controlled by Yoruba only. High court in Yoruba land controlled by Yoruba judges too. Appeal court in Yoruba land controlled. You will see it in our constitution. The only thing we do not, the only court we have no control over is the Supreme Court, which is like the constitutional court. It is the same thing in America. Each state controls its own court, up to Supreme Court, except the one that is the constitutional court. Devolve power that we're talking about, number 5, is that we will devolve justice and policing. So Yoruba will be able to control their own police. Yoruba will be able to control their own court. Up to the Supreme Court. We will just have one court at Abuja, which is going to be called the Constitutional Court. The judges there will only interpret the constitution of the federal government. Devolution is the appropriate word to use, folks. Don't use restructuring anymore. We want devolution of power to the regions. Charity law will be devolved. Anybody that wants to establish charity, I'm talking about religion. You know, religion comes under charity. Because anybody starting church, establishing church or mosque today, it is for the salvation of people's soul, charity. So if you want to register your churches, you are not going to go to Abuja. If you want to register your Islamic organization, you are no longer going to go to Abuja. The power will be devolved to the regions, and Yoruba will make money from it. Because a lot of people want to set up so many churches, will start taxing them. Unless we can check their account to see that they are spending money into charity. So charity law will be devolved. Energy will be devolved too. So federal government will no longer concern itself with generation of electricity. No, that power will come under devolved power to the regions. So federal government will no longer control energy generation. Stamp duty, land tax, income tax, VAT, and all the taxes will be devolved. There was a time I saw the argument of President Trump with the governor of California. President Trump was accusing the governor of California that the governor of California has not remitted the percentage of the federal government of America share of the income tax collected by the California governor. You see, taxes devolve in America. But you see the ridiculous things we do in Yoruba land and in Nigeria as it were. Companies will set up businesses in Yoruba land. They will pay their income tax, and you take this income tax, you move it to Abuja, and you now distribute this money according to number of states, number of local government, according to population, according to land mass, according to density, according to senatorial district. Does that make common sense? It doesn't. All of these things that I'm saying, believe you me, all these guys on Facebook, Olayomi Koiki, they just don't know. They don't have a clue. Citizen AY, they have no clue. Oduduwa TV radio, they have no clue. Look at the caliber of these people talking shit. Heritage TV, they don't know. They just talk shit. We want to do our problem. Tinubu is our problem. Sit them down. Let them bring their best mind to come and debate. As a matter of fact, they've introduced me to their stupid debate. I don't want to be seen with Libra. I turned down a lot of their debate. They just want to use my picture. Oh, Adeyinka Grandson. That's what they want to do. You're not brilliant. Stop following them. So we're going to devolve taxes, income tax and other tax will be devolved to the regions. So it is the regions that will collect these taxes, and the region will pay an agreed percentage to the federal government. That is how it is done in UK. That's how it is done in America. You know that it is not President Trump that is controlling the crude oil in California, the crude oil in Texas, the crude oil in Alaska. It is not President Trump, it is the governor of these 3 states that I have mentioned. They are the people that are controlling the crude oil. But the amount of money generated, the federal government would take an agreed percentage of the money, maybe 10% or less. But in Nigeria, it is the federal government that is controlling the crude oil in Yoruba. It is the federal government that is controlling the crude oil in Ijoland. It doesn't make sense. That's why the Igbo and the Fulani say they want zoning. We have been saying to people, why does not support zoning? We are the first person that have been against zoning. We don't support zoning, and I'm going to speak on that because they are circulating rumor that we are practicing zoning in Nigeria. We don't practice zoning in Nigeria. During 1999 election, there are some Hausa Fulani that contested the PDP primaries with Obasanjo. There were some Hausa Fulani that contested the ANPP primaries, presidential primary with Olufalaye. So there's no zoning in Nigeria. Don't let anybody fool you. We take the presidency in 2023, we are not zoning anything. They don't zone presidency in America between black and white. They don't zone the premiership in UK between English and Scottish. No, majority rule. And the economic backbone of every nation always rule over others. It is Yoruba that is sustaining Nigeria. We are going to rule, and we're the majority too. But minority Fulani are ruling. I don't believe in zoning. YYF does not believe in zoning. We don't believe in zoning. Why is it that President Trump is going to contest the election in November with this Joe Biden? Both of them are white. How come the African American are not saying, oh, no, we must have one black person there? Oh, they said, oh, the white people have been ruling since 1776. It must be the turn of the black people. Nobody does that shit thing. That's because of the unitary system. That is why the Igbo and the Fulani are always advocating for zoning. Don't mind what this stupid Mama Daura is saying, that it doesn't support zoning. It's part of their gimmick. They have always wanted zoning. We Yoruba don't want zoning. We want to rule. And there is a proviso. If you don't want us to rule, we break up the country and everybody goes their way. It's very simple. We don't want to compete with any one of you. So we will issue the white paper on devolution. And Tinubu will look at that white paper and work on it. Because we push ideas and ideals. We tell people we want Oduduwa Republic, but there are ways to get Oduduwa Republic, not what the stupid liberals are saying. Just ranting, saying that they want to protest with Fulani that are going to kill you with guns. taking Yoruba to UNPO, minority group, when we are majority, antagonizing Tinubu rather than for Yoruba to take the presidency of Nigeria, first time in our lifetime. Obasanjo is not a Yoruba man. Yoruba has never been president of Nigeria. The first Yoruba to have won the election was MK Abiola. Now it's going to be Tinubu in 2023. That's why we say you cannot protest in a multicultural country where minority is the president of Nigeria without weapon. And our choice of weapon is chemical and biological weapon because Fulani have appropriated our seaports. So folks, number 9, devolved power. The power that will be devolved to the region is employment law. Employment law will be given to the regions. And one thing that we are going to do as Yoruba, believe you me, if you graduate outside Yoruba University, you will do 1 year course in our university before you qualify to work. You will not be able to work. It will be part of our employment law because we would devolve employment law to the regions. And you cannot, as a non-Yoruba, you cannot be employed in certain jobs unless there is no Yoruba person that has the brain power to do that job. It will be part of our employment law. We need to protect our own. Yoruba who are living abroad. We're not first-class citizens in the countries that we live, in the respective countries that we are living in. We do the jobs that their citizens don't want to do. English don't want to wash toilet in England, so Yoruba, we have to do that job. English don't want to clean their hospitals. Yoruba, we have to do their job. English people don't want to do care work. Yoruba, we have to do that job. English people don't want to do car park attendant. Yoruba, we have to do that job. We do the job that the English don't want to do. We go to France, we do the job that the French citizens don't like. Dirty jobs. So when we devolve employment law into region, we will put in place certain measures to protect the interests of Yoruba citizens on all jobs. But you think the Igbo want this? They don't want this. It's very easy to run Nigeria when you devolve political power to the regions. But Igbo are criminals. Fulani are a minority and horrible set of people. And it is the English that are supporting Fulani. If you leave Fulani alone with no allies and let them go to war with Yoruba, Fulani cannot produce ordinary hand grenade bomb. Fulani can't produce, they cannot mass produce AK-47 guns. Fulani cannot produce nuclear bomb. They cannot produce nitrogen bomb. There is a new one, which is nitrogen bomb. Fulani can produce, but Yoruba started using nuclear energy in 1955 to generate electricity. The irresponsible English thought that, oh, if you leave us alone, we will be able to produce nuclear bomb. South Africa has nuclear bomb. India has nuclear bomb. Pakistan has nuclear bomb. What stopped Yoruba from having nuclear bomb? When we have the human capital to do it, but it was the English who stopped us. So if you want us to use our brain power to develop Yoruba, you need to make a Yoruba citizen president of Nigeria from 2023. This horrible Yoruba liberal are shouting, no restructuring, no election. Restructuring is shit word. It is not what we desire. We desire devolution. You devolve power to the regions. So employment law will be devolved. So if you are working in Yoruba land, the requirement, the conditions that you are going to follow will be different from that of those in Igbo. Here in England, there are certain jobs that non-English can do. I have a cousin that works with the British Army. He wanted to work in their nuclear submarine section. They won't allow him because it's not English. That is part of their employment law. If he works here, he will be able to build submarine for Yoruba nation. So employment law will be devolved, but currently employment law is being controlled by the federal government. Every power goes to the federal government. That's why we kill ourselves to get the presidency. If we have had regional government since 1999, this stupid Libra will not be shouting today, no restructuring, no election. They follow Igbo way of life because a lot of these liberal, they are either sleeping with Igbo or married to Igbo or half Yoruba. It is the same nonsense that the Igbo were saying for 4 years, 2015 to 2019. No referendum, no election. But at the end of the day, they participated in the election. It is the same shit that the Yoruba Libra are doing. They're saying they want to protest on the street on the 1st of October. When I was in secondary school, my mother was protesting on the street with placard. She was calling people to go on strike action. Hausa Fulani continued to arrest her and dump her in police cell. When she won't stop, they promoted her. She was a junior staff. They made her a senior management staff so that she can stop protesting. So she stopped. But she continued to encourage the junior staff to continue to do it. They call her Margaret Thatcher because she was a very tough woman, but she's no longer tough. She's old now. So that will be devolved to the regions. Number 10, licensing of onshore oil and gas extraction will be devolved to the region. So the crude oil in Yoruba land will no longer be controlled by the federal government. The crude oil in Ijaw land will no longer be controlled by the federal government. The gold in Yoruba land will no longer be controlled by the federal government. The mineral resources in Hausa Fulani land will no longer be controlled by the federal government. We will devolve the control of these mineral resources to the region. It is what is done in the United States of America. The federal government of America does not control the crude oil in America. It is only in Nigeria that horrible people are doing. It is the Igbo and Fulani that gave you this constitution. They don't have crude oil, Igbo and Fulani, but they want to control your own crude oil, Yoruba and Ijaw. So they put it in the constitution that is the federal government that will have the license over offshore and offshore oil and gas extraction. Because they don't have, and they want to control you. So if the Libra that are shouting no restructuring, no election, if they have common sense, they will put their son as the president of Nigeria, Tinubu, and Tinubu will use that same power to return Nigeria back to regional government and put in a constitution that never again shall we go back to unity system. And he will ensure that no Igbo, no Hausa Fulani becomes president. It's the same thing in America. Have you ever seen any English as the president of America? But there's so many Germans. President Trump is a German. There are so many Irish. There are so many Dutch. There are so many Spanish. There are so many French that have been president of America. Not a single English since the end of the American Revolution, because the English lost the war. Because the English were suppressing them in America, and the other fought against them. So if we take the presidency in 2023, we will never allow Igbo or Hausa Fulani to be president. Otherwise, they will return it back to everything that we've done. They will return it back. If you want to secure the interests of the Yoruba nation, you devolve police and military. Straight. We will just go and sign military agreement with the United States, straight, our region. We'll sign military agreement that in future, it could be 100 years from now, that when none of us are alive, that if they try to overrun Yoruba land, America should come to our aid. So we protect the future of our children yet unborn. If you devolve police and military, Fulani can't do anything, they can't harass you anymore. Igbo cannot do uzo, and telling us that they can kill us in our space. Igbo won't be able to do that. So it is important for us to take the presidency. Don't fall for the gimmick of the Yoruba liberals in the PDP. The Inka Odumake idiot, the Femi Fanika Adewere, the stupid old man called Ayo Adebanjo that are hobnobbing with Igbo, talking shit. You know what they are saying now? They are circulating some news saying that Boko Haram will overrun Yoruba. They said that during the Jonathan presidency. They said that during the 2019 presidency, saying that the Fulani have taken over all our forests. Fulani are going to attack, or they are prepared. It's just the only thing they do is propaganda, the Yoruba Libra, because they are being propped up by the Igbo. That's why they do propaganda all their life. So, Fulani are going to overrun us. Give the presidency to your son, Tinubu. Let us form super special relationship with America. And it's not going to be free. We give them part of our wealth. Boom! We secure the future for our next generation, our children yet unborn. Economic development will be devolved. What is economic development that we're talking about? We're talking about the quality of life of a region, local community, or an individual. The best way you can improve the quality of life of your Yoruba citizen is to devolve economic development. Let the region think for their own people. Devolve economic development to each region. Igbo, you said you have the human capital. You can turn your homeland to China. Go and do it under your own region. Hausa Fulani, do it if you have the skill. So we need to devolve economic development. So we need to improve the quality of life of our people. Today I was talking to my friend. His parent has 5 children. 4 of them are living abroad. Only 1 is remaining in Nigeria. It is the same thing that is happening in my own family. We're 9 siblings. Half of us are living abroad. That is how it is in most families across Yoruba land. Look at the implication of that stupidity in the next 50 years. A family of 5 children. 4 of the children are living abroad. I live in England. I know how the horrible police have always treated me. They harass me, intimidate me, and they just charge me to court anytime. It is because I'm not English. And that is the same thing I want the Yoruba to do to English national in our own space too. We are suffering abroad. Now, when we, the children, are leaving Yoruba land, who do you think are taking over our space? Hausa Fulani and the Igbo. So if this trend should continue, if you have common sense, 9 family, half of them are living abroad, 5 family, 4 of them are living abroad. Now, if this trend continue for the next 50 years abroad, my children here, they don't have the same right as English. So my children will not be happy in future. If they want to work in a job, they will see that English will have preference over them, and they will be saying to me, Dad, let us go back to our country. But our country has been taken over by Hausa Fulani and Igbo. So my children's generation will be the greatest loser. They will not be able to compete for space abroad, and at home, foreigners have already taken over Yoruba land. So if we are smart people, we need to put Tinubu as the president of Nigeria and halt this horrible situation of the Yoruba people. How can you have 9 children? Half of them are living abroad. You have 5, 4 of them are living abroad. Do that continuously for the next 50 years. There will not be Yoruba nation anymore. Look at your family, those of you who are Yoruba abroad. Look at your family too. How many are you? How many of you are living in Yoruba land? But if you can picture, you can envision the impact of this on Yoruba land, you will know that if we continue with this trend, in less than 50 years, Igbo will overrun our space. My friend that was talking to me today said to me,